Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something totally fascinating, the inner temple of the sovereign self protocol. Basically, what we're doing here is taking these really deep, abstract spiritual concepts and translating them into hard biological daily habits. Our goal? To literally rewire your nervous system so you can stop emotional hijacks before they even start. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by a sudden trigger, well, this is absolutely going to change how you look at your own brain.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to map out a pretty incredible journey today. First up, the anatomy of a trigger. Then we'll look at building your internal sanctuary, mastering the 3-breath reset, catching those early warning signs, telling survival apart from growth, and finally, anchoring your expansion. It's all about moving from our most basic biological reflexes to, quite frankly, advanced emotional evolution.
I absolutely love starting with this powerful quote right from the source material. Inner peace isn't something you find, it's something you inhabit. We're always looking for peace out there somewhere in the world, right? But today we're talking about building a literal neurological safety net inside your own nervous system. You don't go searching for it, you build it, and then you just step inside. All right, moving right along to section 1, the anatomy of a trigger. So, if we're going to solve an emotional hijack, we kind of have to understand the universal problem we all deal with, which is getting triggered. Look at this concept right here, called the gap of distrust. It is literally that microscopic split second between an external trigger and your brain just completely taking over in a full-blown emotional hijack. Biologically speaking, this is that exact moment fear signals are rushing straight to your amygdala. You probably feel it as this sudden tightness in your chest, or maybe a weird lump in your throat. But listen, here is the absolute secret. If we can touch that exact gap, we can actually use it to completely rewrite how we psychologically respond. Pretty wild, right? Which brings us to section 2, building your internal sanctuary.
Okay, so if the gap of distrust is the problem, what's the fix?
Well, it's building a permanent, internal location for self-love that literally functions as a neurological anchor. We call this the Sacred Vestibule. Think of it as an internal sanctuary where your resilient core self can meet up with your vulnerable parts in a state of total, absolute safety. And hey, this isn't just some nice, fluffy metaphor. To ground this in the biology, when you repeatedly visit this mentally constructed vestibule, you are actually strengthening the connection between your insula and your prefrontal cortex. Over time, you're literally creating a hardwired neurological bypass right around your brain's fear center, the amygdala. It's like building a completely new highway in your brain. So, how exactly do we build this thing? The protocol gives us 4 clear phases. First is the gateway. This is where you use rhythmic breathing to signal your vagus nerve and just open up the brain's receptivity. Next up is the architecture. You're going to visualize a sensory doorway. Maybe it's this heavy, sturdy oak door or a doorway made of shimmering light. Whatever it is, you leave all your heavy luggage outside. Anxieties, PTSD triggers, leave them in a basket on the porch. They do not get to come in. Step 3 is the altar. Here, you breathe a golden presence of internal love straight into wherever your body is holding tension. I know it sounds a bit mystical, but get this. Your brain actually processes vivid visualization using the exact same neural networks as physical reality. And finally, step 4 is integration. This is as simple as pressing your thumb and forefinger together to create a physical anchor you can actually use out in the real world. While you're hanging out in this sanctuary, the source material suggests using this incredibly profound affirmation of sovereignty. Let's just slow down for a second and read this together. I am the one who remains. I am the witness, and I am the protector. You are safe in my care. Honestly, this is psychological reparenting in action. By internalizing these words, you completely shift from being a helpless victim of a trigger to becoming the grounded, compassionate host for a feeling. Now, section 3, the 3-breath reset. So the crucial point is, how do we actually use this out in the real world when we don't exactly have 20 free minutes to sit down and meditate? Well, that's where the sovereign key comes in. It's a rapid 3-breath reset built specifically for those emergency moments in the gap of distrust. Let's actually try it right now together. Breath 1 is the descent. I want you to inhale deeply for a count of 4, and then exhale super slowly through pursed lips for a count of 8, just internally saying the word safe. Those pursed lift exhales, they literally signal your brainstem to drop its defensive, bracing posture. Okay, breath 2 is the vestibule. Inhale for 4, and on that long 8-count exhale, say the word space. Picture putting whatever triggered you on the other side of a thick glass partition.
Finally, breath 3 is insight. Inhale, maybe lengthen your spine a bit, and on the long exhale, say source or love. This right here is what re-engages your prefrontal cortex, bringing you back from being a reactive victim to a creative sovereign. But guys, here is an absolutely vital implementation tip. You have to practice this 3-breath reset like 10 times a day when you are not triggered. Why? Because you've got to grease the wheels of this brand new neural pathway. Think about it. If you only try to whip this out during a massive panic attack, your brain is going to have no idea what you're doing. Practicing it when you're completely calm ensures that when that gap of distrust actually does open up, your brain auto-recognizes the breathing pattern as a clear command to bypass the block.
All right, let's move on to section 4, catching early warning signs.
Because obviously, the earlier we catch a trigger, the easier it is to actually use our 3-breath key. We really need to get good at spotting that subtle ramp-up right before a flashback peaks. The thing is, your body actually gives you somatic pre-cues way before the emotional hijack fully hits. We're talking about breath alterations, like suddenly realizing you've been holding your breath for the last minute, or muscular bracing, when your shoulders creep up so high they're basically touching your ears. Yeah, we've all been there during a particularly stressful email chain. You might also get these weird internal temperature shifts, like your stomach suddenly dropping or your hands going ice cold. Biologically, that is just your blood rapidly redirecting to your internal organs to prepare for survival. Or, you might notice you're getting tunnel vision or your heart rate is just getting a bit jittery. Actually, I want to pause for a second and ask you directly. Think back to a recent minor disagreement you had with someone. Where exactly did you feel that first? Did your chest get tight? Was it your jaw clenching up? Did your stomach do a flip? Being able to name the exact physical location where that tension started is a total game changer. It takes this massive, abstract threat and turns it into a manageable physical cue. To get better at spotting these cues, you can use some great clinical strategies like body mapping. But my absolute favorite tool is something called the 10% softening. Seriously, right now, just check your jaw or your shoulders. If they feel even 10% tense, just take a deep breath and soften them. See? These strategies are all about treating your body like a communicative partner that's constantly giving you helpful nonverbal cues, rather than treating it like an enemy that's failing you.
Moving on to section 5, survival versus growth.
As you start getting better and better at self-regulation, you're going to hit a whole new challenge. Telling the difference between your fear brain's survival signals and your spiritual self's growth signals. Because let me tell you, they can both feel incredibly intense physically. The easiest way to tell them apart? Look at their direction. Survival cues operate on what we call a closed loop. They are super defensive, very repetitive, and honestly, they just keep you trapped on this psychological hamster wheel of worry. They always lead right back to fight, flight, or freeze. Growth cues, though, they are an open loop. Even when they feel really uncomfortable, they're expansive, they're novel, and they actually push you toward deeper self-understanding and post-traumatic growth.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark difference between discomfort and danger. Look at the primary emotion here. Survival danger feels like pure panic or dread, whereas growth discomfort feels more like curiosity or maybe a bit of nervous excitement. Physically, danger is all about tightening and bracing, but growth feels like you're cracking open to a new edge. What's amazing biologically is that when you start viewing these weird feelings as a push toward growth and internal love, you literally strengthen your anterior cingulate cortex and your insula. That is what allows you to start trusting your own inner compass over the loud, messy static of survival mode.
Which brings us to our final part, section 6, anchoring your expansion.
In any kind of spiritual or psychological development, there's almost always this really messy turning point. It's when growth feels so murky and confusing that you might actually mistake it for a survival crisis. To handle this, you've got to learn how to hang out in what's known as the liminal space. Neurologically speaking, this is the sort of in-between state where your default mode network, which is the part of your brain that handles daydreaming and mind-wandering, and your task-positive network, which handles external focus, are both active and completely balanced. You need to create this wide, safe internal container for quiet expansion. This basically ensures that as your subconscious integrates all these deep new insights, it doesn't just devolve into some maladaptive escape from reality.
Now, to make sure you stay safely grounded while your spirit goes off exploring, you need some very practical tools. For example, you can use a physical tether. Maybe it's a smooth stone in your pocket or a specific piece of jewelry that signals somatic safety to your body. You might also want to set a containment timer, so you literally give yourself permission to be lost on purpose for, say, 10 minutes, and that's it.
Or you can use sensory handrails. Think about something as simple as stirring your morning coffee clockwise while repeating a mantra. It's all about intentionally signaling to your brain that it is perfectly safe to enter and exit this deeper vestibule of insight. Ultimately, the whole shebang of this protocol boils down to balancing a really core duality. On one side, you absolutely need the wings for expansion. That means using your default mode network and creative visualization to reach for higher insight. But equally, you absolutely must have the anchor for safety. This means using your task focus and somatic touch, like that 3-breath reset we talked about, to remain sovereign and totally present right there in the room. You just have to balance the two. So I want to leave you with this one final, provocative thought to chew on. The next time your gap of distrust opens up, and trust me, it definitely will, are you going to just let your brain loop right back into an automatic, exhausting survival hijack? Or will you use your breath as the key to unlock your very own internal sanctuary? The choice is yours, and now you've got the biological and spiritual tools to actually make it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep practicing.